You're over 50. You've worked hard your entire life. And yet, when you look at your retirement savings, there's this sinking feeling in your stomach. Maybe you started late. Maybe life got in the way. Kids, medical bills, a job loss. Or maybe you just never knew where to begin. And now, every financial article feels like it's written for 25-year-olds with decades to spare. Every YouTube video talks about time in the market, like you've got 40 years to wait. But you don't. And that's terrifying. Here's what nobody tells you. You don't need 40 years. You don't need to mass a complex portfolio with 15 different funds. And you definitely don't need to become a stock-picking genius overnight. What if I told you that 2 simple funds, just 2, could be the only investments you'll ever need for the rest of your life? I'm not talking about some risky bet or a complicated strategy. I'm talking about a proven, exposed approach that some of the smartest investors in the world use themselves. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly which 2 Vanguard funds can carry your retirement, whether you have $100,000 saved or you're starting with just a few $100s. But here's the thing. These 2 funds work together in a very specific way. If you only use one without the other, you're leaving yourself exposed. So stick with me until the end, because the second fund is where most people over 50 get it wrong. Let's start with why this approach works and why it's actually perfect for where you are right now. When you're over 50, your investing strategy has to do 2 things at once. First, it still needs to grow. You might have 15, 20, even 30 years ahead of you. Inflation doesn't stop just because you're closer to retirement. If your money just sits there, it actually loses value over time. So your investments need to keep working. But second, and this is where most people mess up, your portfolio also needs to protect you. Because if the market crashes 3 years before you retire, you don't have time to wait for a recovery. That's the balancing act. Growth and protection. Offense and defense. And that's exactly why these 2 funds work so well together. Let's start with fund number 1, your growth engine. This is the Vanguard Total Stock Market, ETF. Its ticker symbol is VTI. Now here's why this fund is so powerful. When you buy VTI, you're not betting on one company. You're not gambling on tech stocks or chasing whatever's hot this month. You're buying the entire US stock market, over 3,700 companies in a single investment. Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Amazon, Broadcom, Alphabet, Meta, Tesla, they're all in there. But so are mid-sized companies and smaller ones you've never heard of. You get exposure to all of them without having to pick winners. The top sectors in VT, I include technology at around 30 to 33%, followed by consumer, discretionary, financials, healthcare, and industrials. So you're not just invested in one corner of the economy, you own a piece of everything. And here's what that looks like over time. VTI has delivered an average annual return of around 13 to 15% over the last decade. Even over the last 5 years, which included a pandemic and a major market correction, it returned over 13% annually. Its expense ratio, just 0.03%. That means for every $10,000 you invest, you're paying only $3 per year in fees. Compare that to actively managed funds that charge 1% or more, and often perform worse. VTI also pays dividends, around 1.12% yield, and those dividends have grown at an impressive rate. Over the past 10 years, VTI's dividend has grown by an average of 8.3% per year. That's your income growing faster than inflation. But here's the catch. VTI is a stock fund, and stocks go up, but they also go down, sometimes a lot. If you put everything into VTI and the market drops 30% the year before you plan to retire, you're in serious trouble. That's why you need fund number 2. And honestly, this one might be even more important for someone in their 50s. This is the Vanguard Total Bond Market, ETF, ticker symbol BND. Think of BND as your anchor, your safety net. When stocks crash, bonds typically hold steady, or even rise. BND holds over 11,000 investment-grade bonds, mostly US government treasuries and high-quality corporate debt. Around 65 to 70% of this fund is backed by the US government. The rest is invested in industrial and financial corporate bonds with strong credit ratings, right? We're talking A and BBB rated debt. This isn't risky junk. It's the kind of stable, boring investment that lets you sleep at night. The yield right now is between 3.8 and 4.1%. That means BND pays you just for holding it. And unlike stocks, it doesn't swing wildly from month to month. Now, some people look at BND's long-term returns, around 1.5 to 2% over the past decade, and think, why would I bother with that? Here's why. In 2022, the stock market dropped over 18%. People panicked. Retirement accounts got crushed. But investors who held bonds in their portfolio, they had something stable to lean on. They didn't have to sell their stocks at the worst possible time just to cover expenses. That stability gave them time. And time is what lets your portfolio recover. So how do you actually combine these two funds? There's a simple rule that works beautifully for anyone over 50. It's called the rule of 110. Here's how it works. Take the number 110 and subtract your current age. The result is the percentage you should put in stocks. The rest goes into bonds. Let's say you're 50 years old. You take 110 minus 50. That equals 60. So 60% of your portfolio goes into VTI, your stock fund. The remaining 40% goes into BND, your bond fund. This gradual shift from stocks to bonds is called a glide path. It slowly moves you from growth to protection as you get closer to actually needing the money. Now, let's put real numbers on this. Say you're 50 years old and you invest $100,000 today using that 60-40 split, assuming a blended average return of around 10% per year, which is a conservative estimate. Here's what happens. In 10 years, when you're 60, that $100,000 grows to roughly $259,000. In 15 years, when you're 65 and possibly ready to retire, it becomes over $417,000. And all you did was hold two funds, no stock picking, no market timing, no stress. Now, if you're watching this and thinking, I don't have $100,000, that's completely fine. This strategy works at any level. Even $300 a month invested consistently can grow into something meaningful. The math scales. What matters is that you start and that you stay consistent. But here's the real question most people struggle with. Where do you actually find that $300 every month? That's why I created a simple budget tracker. It helps you see exactly where your money is going each month so you can find the gaps. Because the truth is, most people don't have an income problem. They have a visibility problem. Once you can see your spending clearly, finding money to invest becomes so much easier. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check it out. But before you go and open a brokerage account, there's one more thing you need to understand. It's the mistake most people make right after they choose the right funds, and it quietly destroys their returns over time. The mistake? It's simple, and almost everyone makes it. It's checking your portfolio too often, and then reacting emotionally, and that's exactly when most people destroy their own returns. The solution? Stop watching so closely. Once you've set up your VTI and BND allocation, your only job is to rebalance once a year. One adjustment, once a year. That's it. That's the entire strategy. It's not sexy, but it's real, and it works. Now, one important note before you go. I'm not a financial advisor, and this video is for educational purposes only. Before making any investment decisions, consider consulting with a qualified financial professional who can assess your specific circumstances. If that sounds like you, I've got a video on your screen right now about SCHD, one of the most popular dividend ETFs from Charles Schwab. It's a completely different approach, and for income-focused investors, it might be exactly what you're looking for. Click it now, and I'll see you there.